right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I am your host, Mike, as usual. And today, for episode 25, we're going to be breaking down UFC London. And today, I'm joined by a very special guest, somebody I've been watching for a minute, long before I even started doing this stuff. Dan, what's up, man? How are you? Introduce yourself, brother.
Doing awesome, man. Mike, it's really nice to meet you, man. I'm Dan from Half the Battle podcast. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure, man. Thank you for coming on. So, real quick, we're going to recap last week as I always do, and then we're going to get right into the card breakdown. So, last week, UFC Long Island, I was lucky enough to be there live. It was a great time until the unfortunate main event. It was crazy because we were all so hyped up in the audience, and then everybody knows how that went. But Dan, you had Yair, right?
I sure did.
Yes,
Plus
sir.
155.
At least you cashed that one. And I'm not going to lie, when I was there, I was yelling fluke, but on rewatch, looked like Yair got himself a sub. So that was crazy. But in terms of how I did bet-wise, we ended up profiting 1.54 units, and that was all because of the straight picks. All my props and parlays ended up amounting to 0.01 unit profit. Cashed out 1.54 on straight picks. Did pretty well there. Hit a bunch of dogs. I hit Li Jing Liang. I hit Matt Schnell. I was going wild for that one. I had the plus 1600 on his KO. So when he was ground and pounding, I was like screaming my head off. And then he got a sub, but that was good enough. And then what else? Jack Shore, that sucked. But, props to Ricky Simone. The dude's an animal. Shane Burgos, that was way closer than I expected. The Stoltz whose cash was dope. Dustin Jacoby killed it, and then my Penne bet aged very poorly. But how about you, Dan? How was your week?
Well, firstly, congrats on the Li Jing Liang and the Matt Schnell. Those are two nice underdog cashes. I had two nice underdog cashes myself. Dustin Stoltzfus plus 124. Put 2 units on that, and then also put 2 units on Yair plus 155. So just had a nice little clean sweep over 5.5 units. So yeah, I was happy to come out with the win there, and hopefully do something similar this weekend.
Yes, sir. This week I'm really trying to change things up a little bit. The ROI has been a little shitty on my end, but let's get right into it. So for our very first fight of the card, we've got Nicolas Dalby versus Claudio Silva. Dalby is 19-4-1, 37 years old, 5'11", 75-inch reach, and I've got him training at a Rumble Sports. I try to double check Dan on Instagram when I'm doing this stuff, so if I have any of the camps wrong and you know better, please just let me know. And then Claudio Silva on the other side, 14-3-0, 39 years old, 5'11", 71-inch reach, training out of American Top Team. So Dan, why don't you go ahead and start this one?
Yeah, I mean, listen, a few years ago, I would have definitely taken the underdog odds on Claudio here, but unfortunately, I think it's just at that point where, he's, it says 39. Actually, I don't buy that. I think might need to see a birth certificate there. I was thinking more 41, 42. But when he was doing his thing, man, I mean, the guy, it might not look the prettiest on the feet, but when he gets you on the mat, chances are the fight might be over shortly after. I mean, even back in the day, had a win over Leon Edwards and had a big win streak inside the UFC's octagon. But it just seems like finally the age is catching up to him. And with Nick Dalby, he's one of these guys that's usually known for his slow starts, but fast finishes. And when I say fast finishes, I don't mean first round finishes. I mean that he finishes fights strong, down the stretch. And I mean, he's a guy that beat Elizeu Zaleski in Brazil and, beat Daniel Rodriguez. Even if a lot of us thought it was controversial, the fact that it was even competitive is credit to Nick Dalby, man. So I just think he's catching Claudio Silva at the right time. So as long as nothing crazy happens in the early going, I think Dalby probably gets this one done.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the most likely outcome here is Dalby pulling away, probably a decision, right? But so the way I came into this thinking was I was looking at Dalby. I'm all chalk this week. I have so many chalk parlays I'll go over, but Dalby was one that I was looking at going into it. And then I was breaking down the fight, and I know a lot of people say like watching tape can make you overthink things. Personally, I feel like it helps. It really helps me. And this is a good example because look, I went into it. I remembered what happened with Silva and McGee, right? And then I remembered what happened with Silva and Kraus. But if you think about those matchups, it's two grapplers who were able to counter Silva's grappling and tire him out that way. I think that's why he got so much extra exhausted there. And Dalby, he's not a grappler. His takedown defense is all right. 50, what I have 50% for it. No, 65. I apologize. And I just feel like if Silva does get him down here, he's not going to face the same kind of adversity that he faced with someone like McGee or Kraus, who could defend those takedowns because they're really good grapplers themselves. So I ended up playing the sub prop here for Silva. I got it for plus 550. I did a quarter unit, and then I played Fight Doesn't Go as well. Let me see what I got that one at. It was like minus 115. Yeah, minus 115 for Fight Doesn't Go. I feel like that's pretty good because I'm covered if Silva gets a sub. And then if Silva gets exhausted, I'm covered if Dalby gets a late finish. He does carry power. So I think Dalby wins, but I like the bets on Silva, and Fight Doesn't Go in particular.
Nice, man. Yeah, I'm not much of a prop guy myself, but I think you have valid arguments as to why you took that. But I would just be worried about, both these guys are pretty damn durable, and there's always a chance that based on their history it goes 3, but you never know. If Silva takes his back early, that could be over, or if Silva is so fatigued in that late second, early third round, maybe Dalby gets one of his first UFC finishes in a while. Or would it be his first UFC finish?
Let me double check. I have his stuff up. No, he subbed Nordine Taleb in 2018.
Who did?
Oh, I keep looking at the wrong stats. My fault, Dan. Dalby, nope, never finished anybody in the UFC.
Yeah, so that would be a first for him. But you never know. You got a super fatigued guy in front of you. Maybe this time will be the first. Let's see.
All right, moving right along. We got a banger. We got Mandy Bohm. By the way, I keep hearing everybody saying Mandy Bohm all week, and I keep thinking they're calling her a bum. I'm just trying to say her last name. Mandy Bohm versus Victoria Leonardo. Bohm is 7-1-0, 32 years old. She's 5'6", 70-inch reach, and I've got her training out of, it's not SBG, I've got her at Extreme Couture right now. And then Leonardo on the other side, she's 8-4-0, 32 years old as well, 5'5", giving up 1 inch in height, 64-inch reach, so she's giving up 6 inches in reach, and she is training out of Elite Combat Academy. So I'll start off with this one, and yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I remember Mandy from Bellator, and I remember her being fairly hyped up, and I remember her coming to the UFC. I backed her there, and it was a very uninspiring performance, to say the least. I just don't really see too many things that she's really good at. Her output's low, her kicking is good, and she does it a lot, but it's a bit sloppy. Her jab's all right, but she's winging her strikes. Her hands, she keeps them low. And, Leonardo's not some KO threat, but Leonardo will rush in there. She is going to throw up her flurries. She is going to close the distance. And I think she's going to land quite a bit here. And then what does Mandy do if she's not winning on the feet? Is she going to wrestle? That's not her thing. Leonardo's more likely to wrestle. Leonardo's more likely to get on mount, maybe finish the fight. So I'm on Leonardo here. Nothing too crazy. Less than a unit on her, 0.9. And then I played that other 0.1 unit on her KO prop. I think I got plus 1,200. And the only reason I did that is I just think it's possible that she takes down Bohm. Bohm can't get up, and she finishes her with TKO. I don't think that she's going to sub her from top. So that's my play. What are you thinking, Dan?
I'm thinking that this is probably the fight where I go pick up the wings, or I preheat that oven and go make something nice, and then come back and watch the rest of these great fights. I flipped a coin earlier. I landed on Mandy Bohm, so I'll go with her. But I mean, you got to give Leonardo credit. She's fought the far better level of competition. And now on the other side, I think she's been blown out by the far better level of competition. And with Mandy Bohm, haven't been impressed, but at least got out of her comfort zone, went to Extreme Couture. She's got room to grow. We'll see what happens. I really don't have any conviction on this fight whatsoever.
Yeah. The Extreme Couture thing is at least good for her. I feel like they've been killing it lately. But moving right along, this one's a lot of fun, and Twitter's been all over the place here. So we've got Jai Herbert versus Kyle Nelson. Jai is 11-4-0, 34 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach, and he is still training out of Team Renegade. And then Nelson on the other side is 13-4-0, 31 years old, 5'11", so he's given up, 2 inches in height, 71-inch reach, giving up 6 inches in reach. And I have him training out of the same camp, Muskoka Martial Arts. So, Dan, why don't you start this one, brother?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Kyle Nelson, I think it's basically early KO or bust for him. And with Jay Herbert, I mean, he's a pretty damn talented guy. He's just fought some stiff competition inside the UFC, man. I mean, when you make your debut against Trinaldo, and he even dropped Trinaldo in that fight, and then the next fight is Renato Moicano, and then you see what he can do when you give him a favorable matchup against Kama Worthy, and then the next one against Taporia was definitely doing his thing, was looking great against Taporia, just got caught with a behemoth shot. So yeah, there's a chance that Kyle Nelson can catch him, but if that doesn't happen, I think Jay Herbert is actually a couple levels above him. So I'm gonna lean Jay Herbert to win this fight.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. We keep hearing all week, I feel like, this narrative of Jai Herbert not having a chin. And like, why? Why? Because Trinaldo knocked him out. Like, it's Trinaldo who's fighting at welterweight now because Topuria knocked him out. We all think Topuria is a future title challenger, at least most of us. And like, he almost finished Topuria. Topuria, we know already, he's really good in the pocket. And that's how he killed this guy. It was right in the pocket, knocked him out. But I don't think that Herbert is chinny. And I don't think that highly of Nelson. Like you said, one round of cardio, really. What is he going to be looking for? Just power shots. People are saying maybe he'll grapple. I'm not seeing that here. I think that Herbert's going to keep it on the feet and either finish him in round 2 or 3 or win a decision. He's a round robin piece for me, and that's pretty much it for me here. But we'll move right along to another one that a lot of people are talking about. So we've got Muhammad Mokaev versus Charles Johnson. Mokaev is 6-0, but as an amateur, he was like 21-0, I think. I have it down. He was 23-0 as an amateur. So that number 6 is a little bit deceiving. He's 21 years old, which is nuts. 5'7", 70-inch reach, and he's training out of American Top Team right now. And then Johnson on the other side, he's 11-2-0, 31 years old, 5'9", 70.5-inch reach, and I don't think he's at Tiger Muay Thai right now. It looks like he's been jumping around wrestling gyms just based off of his Instagram. Dan, any idea what camp he's at?
Who, Mokaev or Johnson?
Johnson.
Yeah, he's I thought he was like in Michigan or something because I know he's from St. Louis, but like he was over there with making some videos with what's the name of that guy, the tactical combats guy, the dude
Dale.
with Dale. So I don't know if when Joaquin Buckley had him in, if they flew him in or what the deal is, but no, I think he's in good hands. He's definitely not at Tiger Muay Thai for this one, I'll tell you that much. But yeah, it seems like he's getting some good training in.
Yeah, we keep hearing about how he's like bringing in guys that he's been wrestling with. I think I heard about Jordan Burroughs and training with him. And like, I think that's good. You know, of course, work on your takedown defense, but it kind of reminds me of when Kamaru and Masvidal fought the first time. Masvidal was preparing, you know, I know that fight in particular was short notice, but we all know he was preparing for Usman. I think he was training with Bo Nickel at the time. And like, how much did that really do for him? You know, it didn't really change the fight. So I feel like Mokaev's going to do Mokaev things here. I don't love his striking at all. If anybody here has watched my shows before, you know, I don't like guys who just throw fancy kicks and stuff. It's not my thing. I prefer strikers who use their hands and have a good output. Mokaev is not that, but I kind of have to ignore that when he's got the kind of wrestling that he does. I feel like even if Johnson's finding success on the feet and able to keep it up here and there, I think that eventually Mokaev's going to get him down, keep him down, and maybe finish him, maybe make it to the distance. I know a lot of people are on the distance here, but I have Mokaev. Obviously, he's like unplayable. I round robin to him, and that's it. What are you thinking, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I don't put any stock into the amateur career. I mean, it is impressive that he put up that many wins, but to quote Allen Iverson, we talking about practice. Like, to me, amateurs, like, it's like the other day when that dude brought up O'Malley losing a fight in amateurs. Like if that was really like relevant, then how come Pedro Munoz didn't treat him like that? Like, you understand what I'm saying? So to me, amateurs doesn't mean shit. It's just about now how's he going to perform at the highest level. So far, so good. I mean, I've never seen anybody treat Cody Durden like that. But then again, you want to know what happens when fights get extended. And this kid, Charles Johnson, has 100% earned his UFC opportunity. He's an LFA champion. In his losses, he lost to respectable competition like Brandon Royval. And he's kind of like a long striker for the division. You know, he's 5'9", which is tall for flyweight. And slick striker, kind of more on the point volume side of things. I do have a suspicion that he might be weak to the body, and he doesn't have a bad ground game by any means. It's just this Mokaev kid, that's where he thrives. So yeah, you got a lot of questions. I lean Mokaev to get it done on the mat, but I'd love to see what happens if Mokaev gets taken to deep waters at some point. So yeah, a lot of questions, but Mokaev's the pick, no bet.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. Makes sense. He's such a deep favorite. All right. So next up, we've got a fight of grapplers. We got Makwan Amirkhani versus Jonathan Pearce. Amirkhani is 17, 7-0, 33 years old, 5'10", 72-inch reach. And I've got him training out of Mat Training Center. And it seems like he's training out of his own gym as well. It says Amirkhani on the wall. So on the other side, we got Jonathan Pearce, 12-4-0, 30 years old, 6 feet tall, 72-inch reach, let's call it. And he's training out of Fight Ready MMA. We all know Fight Ready, really good camp. And I don't remember who went last. Was it me or you, Dan?
I don't know, but I'm down for whatever, brother.
All right, why don't you go?
So, I mean, Makwan Amirkhani, very, very strong grappler, but it's basically when we're talking about cardio, he's one of those guys that pushes, he goes balls to the wall in that first round. Then after that tends to fatigue. And I thought he had some kind of health issue, which is why his cardio is affected. He talks about it on his Instagram after a couple of the fights that didn't go his way. So JSP's got to mind his P's and Q's early on. And I mean, that's always been the issue with JSP, is that early on, that's when he's susceptible to getting hit with some big shots. He's got a bit of that tall man defense, or that's when he might get taken down early. So that's the area of concern, that first round. But if he can get past that first round, one thing I love about JSP is his pace, his cardio. He can put up big numbers in extended fights. And I'm not just talking about, output on strikes. I'm also talking about takedowns. He's a guy that can land 6 takedowns in a fight, but also land over 100 significant strikes. So those are the kind of things you like. So in an extended fight, I got JSP. If this fight finishes in the first round, I got Makwan, but my pick is going to be JSP to extend it and put up some numbers.
Yeah, man, I'm on the same page. And honestly, the bookies are too, because the round 3 props, like, I love that stuff. I don't know if you've ever seen any on the bet elevator, Dan, but I love my round 3 props, and it's like unplayable. I think they have him at round 3, like plus 800, because everybody knows Makwan's got 1 round of cardio. Jonathan Pearce has like 20 rounds of cardio. My main concern here is we know he's going to be output grappling. Like you said, his output, not just for his strikes, but for his takedowns is really high. And I'm just really concerned because Amirkhani's front chokes are legit. That's how he got Grundy, right? Another high-level wrestler. And I'm just a little concerned that Pearce might stick his neck out, get caught, but like you said, if he doesn't get finished in the first round, I do lean Pearce pretty heavily. He's another piece on my round robin, and I do like him here. But we'll move right along. So, man, the chalk on this fight and Molly McCann made me like really rethink things. I was really looking at the dog here. But anyways, we'll get into it. So, Nathaniel Wood versus Charles Rosa. Wood is 17, 5-0. 28 years old, 5'6", 69-inch reach, training out of Great Britain top team. And we should mention that he is going up in weight for the first time. He hasn't fought in 2 years since he fought Casey Kenny, an absolute banger. I personally thought he won that fight, but who knows? And then on the other side, you've got Rosa, 14, 7-0, 35 years old. So he's kind of getting there in age for bantamweight, featherweight division too. 5'9", so he's got 3 inches of height, 69-inch reach, so they're identical there. And I don't think he's at American top team right now. He's at Sanford now, or Killcliff FC. So I'll start with this one. And like I said, I went into this, I was looking at Rosa because I like Wood a lot, but I didn't think that -4, 500 coming up a weight class made any sense at all. So I was looking at Rosa, and particularly I was thinking Rosa by decision. I could get some crazy numbers. And then I ran the tape and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Even coming up a weight, I think Wood should be comfortable here. I'm not sure where Rosa beats him. On the feet, he's not going to beat him. Is Rosa going to get Wood down? No. Can Wood get Rosa down? Probably, but does he want to? I don't think he should. Rosa's good. That's like his path, right? Why give him his path of victory? On the feet, I don't see any path for Rosa. So I like Wood. I played him by decision or KO, double chance, and I parlayed that. So I do think he wins. I don't like the price one bit, but I do think he wins. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Nathaniel Wood moving up a weight class is probably the right move for him. I mean, everybody saw that picture the last time he tried to cut to bantamweight. It was looking bad, man. And it was looking like, yeah, he's got to make a change. And he did make a change. And, you know, he's a very talented guy. He's going to have a massive speed advantage here, especially moving up from bantamweight. He's going to fill into the frame nicely. He's going to put on some size. And I mean, with Charles Rosa, he's just way too hittable. He hasn't evolved. I'm surprised he's lasted this long in the UFC. Props to him. He's a very tough guy, that's for sure. And I mean, if you're not quite ready for the UFC, then he'll definitely go out there and kind of dog you a little bit. But Nathaniel Wood is ready for the UFC. I think Nathaniel Wood's got one of the best leg kicking games at bantamweight. I want to see how it translates at featherweight. I think that he basically lights him up on the feet, and I think if he wants to take him down, he can take him down. You know, don't get cut or something like that. Don't get submitted, which I highly doubt is going to happen. I mean, back in the day, Charles Rosa actually went to a split decision with Yair in Mexico, of all places. I even cashed on Yair at plus 200 in that fight. But here, the price is too high for me, so I'm just going to pass. But I definitely am betting on Rosa. So, yeah, Nathaniel Wood's the pick.
Makes a lot of sense, brother. All right, so we'll move right along. Won't spend too much time on chalk. But speaking of chalk, here's another one. We got Marc Diakiese versus Damir Hadzovic. Diakiese is 15-5-0, 29 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach. And he is training out of Great Britain top team, according to his Instagram. And on the other side, Damir is 14-6-0. He's 35 years old, so he's 6 years older. I didn't realize he was that old. 5'9", giving up 1 inch in height, and 70-inch reach, giving up 3 inches in reach. And I'll start this one. I'm all over Diakiese here, and it's similar to the Wood fight. I don't really see what Damir can do here, right? The one thing I liked watching the tape back was Damir striking. I thought that it was worse than it actually is. I think it's pretty good. I think he's pretty good. I think he's good in the pocket. He's not good at distance, but once he's up close, he does good work, good combinations. You know, his jab is pretty good. He's just a bit too loopy for me. But his takedown defense is just awful. And Diakiese, for someone who's billed as a kickboxer, his wrestling is really solid. Like, we just saw him go D1 against Slava, my guy. So he showed he can wrestle, right? And he showed he could wrestle in the past, too, against Leonardo, for example. And then in the striking, I think he's also much better. You know, he keeps everything straight. I think he's going to get to the target first. And he might get a finish. He might win a decision. He's probably one of my favorite parlay pieces or my round robin piece. And that's how I feel. What are you thinking, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you here. I still haven't forgiven Damir Hadzovic for that Christos Giagos fight, where I bet him there. And yeah, I mean, typically stuff like that doesn't matter. You take it fight by fight, but the things that happen there are probably going to happen here. Diakiese, when he wants to take you down against lower level guys, especially, he's going to go out there and take you down. And I think there's going to be a speed edge. But yeah, if he kickboxes with Damir Hadzovic for 3 rounds, then Damir might be a live dog. But if Marc can go back to that wrestling, I think he can have success there. So I'm also picking him to win a decision.
Sick. All right, so we'll move right along. I don't think we've really disagreed yet, Dan, so I hope we have something coming up that we disagree on. But for this next one, we got Ludovit Klein versus Mason Jones. Klein is 18-4-0, 27 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach. And I've got him training out of, I can't pronounce it, Ternava. Do you know how to pronounce that, Dan? Any idea?
You talking about Ludovit Klein?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's at Sanford or Killcliff or whatever now.
Oh, I mean, even better then. I wish I knew that before. But anyway, so let's call it Sanford. And on the other side, we got Mason Jones, 11-1-0, 27 years old, 5'10", 72-inch reach. And Dan, why don't you start this one off?
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting fight. Ludovit Klein moving up to 155 pounds, just like his last fight. And he's an explosive guy. For that first round, he looks great. He's hell on wheels in that first round. It's just he's a guy that tends to fade down the stretch, and someone you don't want to fade down the stretch against is Mason Jones. But on the flip side of things, Mason Jones is a guy that's very hittable. So Ludovit Klein has an opportunistic high kick. And in that early going, Mason Jones is going to be pretty hittable. But if this fight hits the second and third rounds, Mason Jones is a pressure guy. Mason Jones is known for breaking people. Mason Jones almost reminds me of like a lightweight Marvin Vettori, the way he fights, minus the southpaw orthodox thing. Just that he'll eat your best shot. He's got a ridiculous chin. people wonder why they can't knock this guy out, and then he just breaks them with his relentless pressure. And I think that's probably what he's going to do here. So yeah, give me Mason Jones to really take over emphatically in the second and third rounds.
Yeah, man, I'm on the exact same page here. Like, if you look at Klein's 2 losses in the UFC, right, Landwehr and Trezano, what was happening the whole time? He was getting pushed back. He was getting pressured. What's Mason Jones going to do? He's going to pressure the fuck out of this guy. He's not going to give Klein the space he needs to work. Klein, he's a clean striker, right? That kick that he likes to set up, he doesn't do as well in the brawls, and Mason Jones thrives in those brawls. So, like you, I'm all over Mason Jones here. I do like him to win the fight. Maybe late, maybe decision. I'm not going to be playing those props, though. But we'll move right along. All right. Next up, we've got Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir. Paul Craig, 16-4-1, 34 years old, 6'3", 76-inch reach. And I've got him training out of Scottish Hit Squad. And then on his Instagram, he spent some time at TFT MMA, A1 Gym, MNBJJ. I'm not familiar, but still want to say it. And then on the other side, we got Oezdemir, 17-6-0, 32 years old, 6'2", so he's given up an inch in height, 75-inch reach, so he's given up an inch in reach. And he's currently training out of MMA Factory in Sweden, which I thought was very interesting. And maybe a good camp, right, for a fight like Paul Craig. Maybe he can get some grappling going there. So I'm on Oezdemir here. It's just Paul Craig. You can win the entire fight, and then he's going to throw up a triangle and beat you with 1 second left, right? That's just Paul Craig. That's what Paul Craig does. And every single time I bet against him, he just does the same damn thing. Jamal Hill, Krylov, every single time, man. Again, I'm going to be backing Oezdemir against him. I just feel like Oezdemir shouldn't. I don't expect him to follow Craig to the ground. I didn't really expect Hill to follow him to the ground either, but, Hill is a bit younger. Oezdemir, I really don't think he's going to follow him. And if he keeps it on the feet, I think he's going to kill Paul Craig. So I really like Oezdemir. His price tag is not that bad, minus 143 now on Bet Online, and it's climbing. The money's coming in on Paul Craig. So if you like Oezdemir, you can sit and wait a little bit. Like Paul Craig was having close striking exchanges with Shogun, right? I just feel like his only path is that triangle. And Krylov, he wrestles, right? Krylov depends on his wrestling a little bit. And Krylov went right into his, what Craig wants, and he got submitted. Jamal Hill, right? Same thing. But Rua, that first time when they were standing, it was a close. Antigulov was lighting him up before he got caught. I just feel like Oezdemir is going to be the much better striker here. If he doesn't get caught with the triangle, he wins this fight. What are you thinking, Dan?
I mean, listen, Volkan should definitely be favored, especially if he comes in here and fights smart, lights him up a little bit. When Paul Craig tries to pull guard, if Volkan can just get back up and, signal him, come on, stand up with me. But for some reason, these guys, I don't know what the deal is. Maybe they see something when they're in there. They either want to beat Paul Craig at his own game, or they feel like they can pound him out, when they get on top of him. And, it's one thing to call the Ankalaev fight a fluke, but when he also did it to Kennedy, when he also did it to Jamal, when he also did it to Nikita, at some point we got to stop calling it a fluke. And I think the same thing's probably going to happen here. I think Volkan Oezdemir is going to be beating up on him, and he's going to try to go to follow up, and he's going to get caught with a triangle. So I'm going to go Paul Craig to pull off another miracle submission win late in the fight.
I think, like you said, I think they try to go for the ground and pound, and then he's just like, thank you for your arm, man. I think that's kind of what happens every time. But we'll move right along. Oh, man, this one. So we got Molly McCann versus Hannah Goldy. Molly is 12-4-0, 32 years old, 5'4", 62-inch reach, training out of Next Gen MMA. And then Goldy on the other side is 6'2-0, 30 years old, 5'4" with a 61-inch reach. And she's training out of, Fusion XL, as far as I could tell. I saw a picture with her and Tate, so take from that what you will. Yeah, I mean, again, I came in here looking for a reason to take the dog, but I'm not seeing it. Goldy, for once, is fighting someone a bit more her size, so she's got that going for her. But her striking is meh. Her kicks are really good and very fast, but kicks alone aren't going to get you anywhere. And I just think Molly's going to break her. I think Molly's going to bring that same pressure she's brought in her last 2 fights. Just go at her, beat her over 3 rounds. Is she going to get takedowns? Maybe. I don't see why she would. She's better on the feet. she's a bit sloppy. I just don't really expect Goldy to be the one to take advantage of that. And she's got that home field advantage. Like normally it's not, I wouldn't put too much stock in that, but like that crowd in London last time, I feel like that really does make a difference. And like I was already leaning her way. So I like her to win. The entire week I've been looking at her decision prop, her KO prop. I was like, let me pick one of these, but then I couldn't pick one. So I didn't really do much with Molly, but what are you thinking, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great matchup for Molly. Molly kind of reminds me of like the female version of Frankie Edgar. She's got a bit of that kind of volume boxing style, and when it's time to mix in those takedowns, she can mix in those takedowns. I've seen her blast double Ariane Lipsky. I was in the front row for that fight. It was in South Carolina down the street from me. So I like her style a lot. She's a lot of fun to watch, and she's nonstop, always going forward, always pushing the pace. And the only people she's lost to have been formidable competition. And with Hannah Goldy, she's just a bit underwhelming. Some side kicks, some inactivity. I mean, I guess the occasional armbar from guard. So yeah, I mean, as long as Molly McCann doesn't just get too carried away, I think she's got this one in the bag. And very, very favorable matchup here.
Agreed. All right, so we'll keep moving on. This is another really, so many interesting fights on this card, man. But we got Nikita Krylov versus Alexander Gustaffson. Krylov is 27-9-0, 30 years old, 6'3", 77.5-inch reach, and I have him training out of Global Fight Gym. On the other side, Gustaffson is 18-7-0, 35 years old, 6'5". He's got 2 inches of height, 79-inch reach. He's got about 2 inches of reach, and he is still training out of All Stars. So, Dan, why don't you start this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be my first bet of the night. One of my favorite angles for the longest time is I like betting against people that are on their way out or people that have just retired. And that's exactly what Gustaffson did. He retired in 2019. He said he doesn't have it anymore. And so that to me strikes me as he's coming in here for a paycheck. And Nikita Krylov, he's only 30 years old, but he's a very experienced 30-year-old. And I'm sure that when Gustaffson was at the height of his career, Krylov always dreamed of fighting a guy like this. Well, now he's got his chance. So this is like Krylov's Super Bowl. And Krylov's a very talented guy, man. I mean, he mixes his punches to his kicks, his striking to his takedowns. On top, he's got good ground and pound. He's got a good submission game. From time to time, he'll make the occasional bonehead mistake on the mat, or from time to time, he'll give that max effort and, kind of fatigue down the stretch. But I think this is a spot that he's going to come out here and just out hustle a guy like Alexander Gustaffson. I think a lot of people that are taking Gustaffson, their argument is, well, if you just give me the prime version of Gustaffson, that, he would definitely come out here and beat Krylov. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you got a time machine and you'd like to send me back to 2017, 2016, then I'd love to bet Gustaffson at these odds. However, we're half past 2022 and we don't have a time machine. So I got Nikita Krylov to come out here and just put the nail on the coffin, and I'm a bet on him straight.
I'm really glad you said that, because I was on Krylov very early when the odds first got announced, and then I did my tape for the show, and I got a little uncomfortable. I wasn't sure that Krylov has the better striking here. I feel like it could be close. Like you said, though, we don't really have much information on this post 2019 Gustaffson, right? Like we really don't, other than him getting submitted by Verdum. So like already I'm uncomfortable there. And then in terms of the takedowns, like I feel like Krylov's got the advantage there, but then you got the 83% takedown defense on Gustaffson. So I had my concerns, but like you said, like I just think that Krylov's going to be able to beat him over 3 rounds. I think that if he keeps going for those takedowns, he'll be able to get it. And on the feet, I feel like he should be able to hang with a Gustaffson in 2022, right? So I'm with you there on Krylov for sure. All right. Honestly, this might be the people's main event right here. We've got Paddy Pimblett versus Jordan Leavitt. Paddy is 18-3-0, 27 years old, 5'10", with a 73-inch reach, training out of Next Gen MMA. And on the other side, we've got Leavitt, 10-1-0, 27 years old as well, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. So he's giving up 2 inches of reach, 1 in height, and he's training out of Syndicate MMA. So I'll start this one, and honestly, like, I get why everybody wants to fade Paddy, right? Literally in his last 2 fights, even against Vargas, he got hurt. But the threat's not there. Like that threat isn't here this time. So I don't think this is the right time to fade Paddy. And if anything, I think it's the time to play him here. He's better than Leavitt at everything that Leavitt does, in my opinion. In the grappling, I think that Paddy's still better. In the striking, I think Paddy's for sure better. What does Leavitt really do there? He throws a lot of kicks. So I was actually looking through the stats right before, and in Leavitt's last fight, right, against Ogden, he threw 69 strikes, and 52 of them were to the leg. 52 out of 69 strikes were leg kicks for Leavitt in his last fight. So in the striking, I don't think he's going to have anything for Paddy. And then in the grappling, I think Paddy's better. But my favorite play here for sure is DraftKings dropped the alternate total 1.5 over minus 140. I really like that one. I don't really see a finish happening here. I like the fight goes at plus 200, plus 220 as well. But for minus 140 over 1.5, I really like that spot. Even though I think Paddy's the better grappler, Leavitt is also a really good grappler. And because of that, I don't really see a sub on either side. And do I think Paddy knocks Leavitt out? I'm not sold on that. So I like the over 1.5 the most for minus 140. What are you thinking, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, the pick is definitely Paddy here, man. I mean, I think that Leavitt's biggest chance is just in the early going with a submission or something like that, but that's going to be tough to do. Paddy is really hard to submit. Paddy's hard to hold down, and we've seen Leavitt, fade down the stretch in fights. And on the feet, though, man, I think that Leavitt, doesn't have the best technique with his striking. It doesn't really seem too keen to get in the pocket and bang. And Paddy might get hit a lot, but Paddy's got an iron chin. Paddy's going to be there to bang. I'm going on the opposite way as you, man. I actually think this one does end early. I think Paddy comes out here and knocks this guy out. So I think the crowd is going to be way too much for a guy like Leavitt. I don't think he's ever experienced anything like this. And I think that Paddy Pimblett's going to get him out of there. So, yeah, give me Paddy.
I'll tell you what, his interview today scared me so much because this guy, I don't know what Leavitt did, but he hates Leavitt. He hates him. And he's just talking about how, like, he's not going to grapple with him. He's going to kill him. He's going to strike with him. So that definitely worried me a bit. But I'm not one to really buy too much into the whole interview narrative kind of thing. So I guess we're going to have to see. But another one that the whole community is really hype about, we got Jack Hermansson versus Chris Curtis. Hermansson's 22-7-0, 34 years old, 6'1" with a 77.5-inch reach. And he is training at a Frontline Academy right now. Saw Hamzat, spent some time with him on Instagram. Apparently that one was interesting. And then Curtis, 29-8-0, 35 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach. And he's training out of Syndicate MMA. So I'll start this one off. And for me, like, I was kind of getting like a Fialho Matthews vibes here, right? We got a guy in Curtis who came in here, shocked everybody 3 times in a row, did something people didn't expect. And now all of a sudden we're all so hype about him that he's a favorite over Jack Hermansson. So already going into the fight, I was looking at Jack. I love my dogs. And if I see a path, I'm going to go with it. But I don't see the path. I mean, I guess I kind of do if he gets the wrestling going, right? I think that Hermansson's a better wrestler than Vieira. I think he's a better wrestler than Brendan Allen. So I think that I do expect him to get at least a few takedowns on Curtis. I don't expect a similar performance to the Vieira one. But on the feet, I got to give it to Curtis. I really do. I was looking for reasons to like Hermansson striking more, but I really don't. His jab is good, but he doesn't really throw much other than that. And his accuracy is terrible, 44%. Curtis, he's got a 65% striking accuracy. So, yeah, I've got to really like Curtis here. I also kind of like fight goes the distance. I think I got it at plus odds. I think a lot of people are expecting, either a sub or a KO on either side. And I feel like the fight's got a good chance of going the distance. Both these guys are really tough, really hard to finish. I don't think Curtis has ever been submitted. And Hermansson's been KO'd, one time? And that was like Jared Cannonier. It was 2 times he got KO'd. So, yeah, I got to like Chris Curtis here. It's going to be crazy close, so it's not a confident pick whatsoever. But I played him at minus 110 for 1.1 unit because I do think that he wins more often than he doesn't. What are you thinking, Dan?
Sorry, you said you took Chris Curtis?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's been very impressive since he got into the UFC, especially up at middleweight. He's a former welterweight. And he's a guy that's definitely surprised me because, I mean, I remember back in the day, like, watching him fight Bilal Muhammad and the takedown defense wasn't there back then, man. And I was always under the impression that this guy's never going to make it to the UFC, even retired 2 times in one night in PFL. But man, he's really put it together in the UFC. So you got to give him a lot of credit. And I guess the path to victory is there with stuffing the takedowns, keeping this one standing. He's got very good boxing for MMA, but I think this is a big step up in competition, man. I think that now he's in the top 10 in terms of who he's fighting. This is no longer these guys outside the top 10. And if you break down these fights that he's had, not to discredit them, because he's definitely gone out there to beat these guys fair and square. But Phil Haas was lighting him up. Phil Haas was winning that entire fight. The big criticism with Phil Haas is he's got no chin. It's unfortunate. The guy's good everywhere, minus his chin. He got caught. It is what it is. The next fight against Brendan Allen, you had Sean Strickland in the corner of Chris Curtis, just saying all kinds of things to Brendan Allen, and Brendan Allen smiling at Chris Curtis. He was acting like an idiot out there. These are just things that an experienced, top 10 guy like Jack Hermansson is not going to do. He doesn't give a shit who's in his corner. And I think it just comes down to me, like, is Jack Hermansson still into this? Is he still hungry? Does he still want it? Because at one point, Jack Hermansson was a top 5 guy. Like, this is a big step up in competition. So if Curtis wins this fight, then I'm jumping on board, but I'm not quite ready yet. Rodolfo Vieira is a one-dimensional guy. You don't get to the top 10 of a UFC weight class without having some kind of, expertise in all areas of the game. And yeah, if they get into a boxing match, then I favor Curtis. But despite how good his takedown defense has looked, I think that Jack Hermansson will find a way to get him to the mat. And from there, I think he's going to, show off that signature ground and pound that we haven't seen in a very long time. So I got Jack Hermansson to come out here and win this fight.
Dan, question. I know you're not a big narrative guy either, like me, but do you think that Curtis training with Strickland and Strickland beating Hermansson has anything for like going for Curtis? Do you think that'll help him at all?
Yeah, of course. It's got to give him confidence knowing that his teammate followed a similar game plan that, that Chris Curtis is looking to implement, no doubt about it. But I think Sean Strickland's a lot better than Chris Curtis. I think Sean Strickland is not Chris Curtis. They're two different people. But yeah, it's got to give him confidence, and he's got some insights as to what he has to do. But on the flip side of things, Hermansson just fought Strickland. So what kind of adjustments is he looking to make here, knowing that he's fought somewhat of a similar style? But I think that Strickland's a lot better than Chris Curtis.
Yeah, I think I've got to agree with you on that one. So we'll move on to our main event of the evening. And I have no idea what side you're on, Dan, so I'm actually really hyped to hear. But we've got Curtis Blaydes versus Tom Aspinall. Blaydes is 16-3-0, 31 years old, 6'4" with an 80-inch reach, and he does normally train out of Elevation Fight Team. Couldn't get anything out of his Instagram. I just saw that he's also at High Altitude MMA, so there's that. On the other side, we've got Aspinall, 12-2-0, 29 years old, 6'5", so he's got 1 inch in height, but he's 78-inch reach, so he's given up 2 inches in reach, and he's training out of Team Kaobon, Liverpool. So I'll start this off, and for me personally, Curtis Blaydes was my dark horse. Like, to this day, well, I guess until this day, I always thought that Curtis Blaydes, if not for Ngannou, would be champion. I feel like Curtis Blaydes is just really underrated, man. Like, his wrestling, we all recognize, but like his striking is also really good. And I saw that against Derek Lewis. I really liked what I was seeing. Of course, he got caught, but I still thought that his striking looked really good there. And against Dawkins, again, he showed that he's got good striking. But also that Dawkins fight kind of showed me what I needed to kind of lean towards Aspinall, because while Blaydes did outstrike Dawkins and he did finish him, Dawkins was landing. He did find good spots, especially in the pocket. And Aspinall is so good up close. He's so fast. His hand speed is just nuts. He doesn't need to wind up to hit you with a lot of power. And it really just comes down to, can he keep it on the feet to me, right? Because I do think that while Blaydes has good striking, I still think Aspinall has better striking. It comes down to the wrestling, right? And then I know a lot of people are going back to 2015. Aspinall lost to Stuart Austin. He got out grappled, and then he got submitted by, I think it was like a heel hook, right? So, but that was 2015, right? So many things have changed. It's been, 7 years since then? And like, Aspinall has looked incredible. What he did to, I was on Volkov there. I didn't think Aspinall could do what he did. And I thought Volkov would extend him, and Aspinall said no way and finished him in round number 1. So I feel like Aspinall's going to win this fight. I'm hesitant to say that it'll be by decision, because I feel like once we go late, there's just unanswered questions. We don't know how Aspinall is going to look in round 3, 4, 5, right? Especially 4 and 5. We have no idea. Blades, we know he can do it. We know he can go 5 rounds, taking down Volkov 14 times, shooting over 20 times, right? So that's my biggest question here, but I do think Aspinall wins this fight, probably by finish, but that's what I'm thinking. How about you, Dan?
I mean, I agree with you in terms of the pick. I got Aspinall as well, but I disagree with you about if Ngannou wasn't there, Blades would be champ. I mean, I remember Black Beast, stuffing 3 of 3 takedowns and then knocking him out. It's not just that Curtis Blades stood up with him and got knocked out by one of the heaviest hitters. Curtis Blades went 0 for 3 on takedowns and then got knocked out. Like we got to bring that up. And then the other thing about, well, we know what happens if Blades goes 5 rounds. Yeah, we do know what happens. He went 5 rounds with Volkov. All 3 judges unanimously scored the 5th round for Volkov. 2 of 3 judges scored the 4th round for Volkov. So this whole thing that all Blades has to do is extend him. Last time I saw Blades get extended, it was not looking pretty, man. So I don't have any reason to believe that Aspinall is going to fade or something. Like, doesn't really seem to me like he's out there huffing and puffing. And in fact, I like everything about this guy. Now, I've also bet on him pretty much every single fight he's had in the UFC. I mean, I even laid minus 350 on him straight against Alan Badeau. In hindsight, should have been minus 3,500, but that's just how high I am on this guy. And then last time, plus 110 against Volkov. And that was a 3 or 4 minute fight. And it was a clinic in every area of the game. The kicks, the punches, the strikes to the takedowns, the entries on the takedowns, the top control, the submissions. People saying that they got questions about his ground game. I'm thinking to myself, if you were a novice grappler, you're not hitting the takedowns he just hit on Volkov. If you're a novice grappler, you're not getting the when was the last time you saw a straight armbar from heavyweight? Probably back in the Frank Mir days. I think that people have seen the grappling of Aspinall. They just maybe haven't seen the defensive grappling. But I guess, in my opinion, it's an educated guess that if he can offensively grapple as well as he can, that means that this guy's out here putting in his work on the mats every single day. So I believe he's going to be fine in that area. And I think he's a little bit too fast for Curtis Blades. I think he's going to make a statement. I think he represents that next generation of heavyweights, the Cyril Gans, the champion Francis Ngannou, Tom Aspinall now. And even you look at light heavyweight, it used to be a thing where John Jones was the only, big athletic guy, but now you got the Jamal Hills, the Ankaleeves, the Jiri Prohaskas, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think Tom Aspinall represents that new wave, and I think he's got something for Curtis Blades Saturday night. Not to mention, Curtis Blades just got to the UK on Tuesday, yesterday, man. How's that jet lag going to treat him? So I got Tom Aspinall here.
I got a question for you, Dan. Let's say hypothetically Tom wins this. Let's say it wasn't too close. He won well. How do you line him versus Ngannou?
I mean, you have to favor the champ, of course, just with what he's accomplished and the one-hitter quitter. But, I mean, I think that Tom Aspinall, I don't want to say he's more well-rounded because I just saw 2 back-to-back fights where Ngannou took down a D1 wrestler in Stipe Miocic and then took down Gan in the 4th and 5th round, made those championship adjustments. It's just more so to me, I got to see how Ngannou comes back from that knee surgery he had. Is it going to be the same destructive force? Ngannou, sometimes on the feet it might not look the prettiest, but he's got that touch of death. So, you gotta set Ngannou the favorite, but I wouldn't count out Tom Aspinall.
I'll never forget that Ngannou Rosenstruck fight. I'll never forget those windmill punches, man.
Right.
But all right, guys, that's the card. We're all done here. I'll run through my bets real quick, just the money lines, because I've got way too much else going on, and then I'll let Dan go and tell you guys where to find him, and then we'll cap off the show. So real quick, my money line picks, I've got Aspinall minus 125, 1.25 units. Chris Curtis minus 110, 1.1 unit. Paddy Pimblett minus 250, 2 units. Oezdemir minus 162, 1.62 units. Pearce minus 215, 1.3 unit. And Leonardo plus 110, 0.9 units. How about you, Dan? And tell the people where to find you, brother.
Damn, you got a full slate, my man.
Yes, sir.
I haven't bet anything yet, but what I am looking to bet is Nikita Krylov, like I already told y'all, trying to see where that line goes, and then possibly Tom Aspinall too. I know a lot of people are going to consider that a contentious pick. I mean, I don't really care. I just do what I want to do and what I think is right. And I think that people are underestimating certain areas of his game. So let's see what happens. You can follow me at Best Fight Picks on Twitter, and then my show Half the Battle is available everywhere podcasts are found. Mike, thanks so much for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Dan. It's been dope. So, all right, guys, thank you guys all for tuning in. I'm going to be dropping my best bets video tomorrow, and then Friday I'm going to be debuting my Contender Series show at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Should be a good time. I've already got some picks. Costa is my first one. The line's already gotten moving, but yeah, so I'll see you guys then, and thank you guys for tuning in, and have a good one.